Welcome back to Cam and Company here on NRAnews.com and SiriusXM Patriot. Coming up later on in the hour, Natalie Foster from the Girls Guide to Guns. But on last night's program, Representative Alan West joined us to talk about the latest on Fast and Furious. Now, we were having some tech issues with our transmission signal up to SiriusXM, so we wanted to share this with you for those who listen to us on satellite radio every evening, because it really was I thought a very interesting interview with the congressman from Florida. Take a listen. Now, join us on the program. Very pleased to have with us Congressman Alan West from Florida. Congressman, thank you so much, sir, for joining us tonight.
No, thank you for having me. I'm sorry that I'm a little late.
Oh, that's all right. Appreciate your time this evening. And, last week I know you were talking with the talk show Steve Gill out there in Nashville, and you said that it was time for Eric Holder to go. I can't imagine that you've heard anything from the administration over the past week that make you change your mind on that.
No, absolutely not. And as I said on Steve's show, I just think that there's been an incredible trend of ineptness and incompetence and, some pretty nefarious actions from Eric Holder as doing his stint as the head of the Department of Justice. And when you start to look at this Operation Fast and Furious, his denial of having anything to do with it, but then you have the director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms saying that the DOJ has been in an obstructionist mode. So I think that this is something that really does reflect back on his ability or inability to be a leader of that organization.
We saw the letter sent out by your colleague, Representative Issa and Senator Grassley, naming 12 current and former DOJ officials who they say they want all the information, all the emails, all the documents relating to Fast and Furious from these 12 individuals. This is the first time that we've really heard a number of names being released, and some of the names, Lanny Brewer, Deputy Attorney General, some of Holder's top deputies.
Yes. Well, that's why you have to believe that he cannot say that he had no knowledge of this operation. Look, I was in the military, and you know the types of things such as this magnitude that is going on in your agency. And as well, I think that something like this reflects poorly on the president, and he needs to not have himself surrounded by these type of individuals that came up with an operation that resulted in the loss of a United States Border Patrol agent.
We've seen really two responses from the administration. The first is the bureaucratic speak of, well, we've got the internal investigation going on, so we can't really make any comments. But we also saw yesterday the Department of Justice and Attorney General Eric Holder actually saying, in an effort to reduce the flow of illicit arms to the Mexican drug cartels, we need these new regulations that we're going to require from federally licensed firearms dealers in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. In other words, blaming the dealer rather than taking responsibility for Fast and Furious.
Well, look, this is once again a trend for this administration. When you see the president stand up and blame the weather, blame corporate jet owners, blame best-selling authors on the debt problem that we see in the United States of America, there is no doubt that when you look at what's going on with the Department of Justice, that they will blame Americans and they will blame gun dealers for their incompetence and for their failure. So this is something that we cannot tolerate, and we just see once again this regulatory environment that is continuing to increase because this administration cannot do things by the legislative process. And so you have the EPA that is out of control. You have the FDA that is out of control. You have a Consumer Protection Agency that is out of control. And those are the things that are killing our small businesses. So once again, the Department of Justice is going to institute more regulations, which is going to kill the gun owners who are out there just small businessmen.
Now, the gun control advocates would say, well, Representative, look, this isn't going to hurt small businesses. This is going to help law enforcement. If we have these reports that are required to be submitted to ATF, why, this will help us identify straw purchasers.
Well, that's the stretch that they will always continue to use. But once again, this is about law-abiding citizens, and you don't need to put more regulation on law-abiding citizens. What you need to do is focus on the criminals that are out there the criminal element that is out there, and you need to be focused on what is happening along our border, which is the fact that it is unsecured. We're not enforcing our laws, and therefore we're letting some very bad actors across our border. And, of course, we're allowing the drug cartels out of Mexico to really dictate the security situation along our border.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing that the administration wants to turn this into a gun control issue and say that the remedies can be found in gun control. When you hear folks
that's their mantra, though.
Yeah.
That any kind of way they will look to see how they can spin things to their advantage. Look, when you're talking about the War Powers Act of 1973, and all of a sudden the president tries to redefine what the word hostility means. Look, anytime you're dropping a bomb on someone's head, that's a hostile action. So this administration is very good at spinning language, and that's very scary because now all of a sudden, instead of redistribution of wealth, they call it shared sacrifice. Instead of government spending, they call it investments. So these guys are masters, and Goebbels would be very pleased to see the type of people that are up here in the Obama administration.
All right, I got to ask you, Congressman, about what's going on with the talks over the debt ceiling. I mean, what's your take on where we are right now?
Well, I think where we are right now, you have a very intransigent president who is a rigid ideologue, and he does believe in the bureaucratic nanny state and big government. So he is not going to back away from wanting to see tax hikes, which is not what we should be doing right now. The most important thing is, if he wants to raise the debt ceiling, then we need the requisite type of spending cuts for the federal government right now. We don't need to talk about, trillions of dollars over 10 years, which when you talk about $1.9 trillion over 10 years, that's a drop in the ocean. So we need to be very serious about the spending cuts. We need to cut our corporate business tax rate, which is second highest in the world at 35%. I say we bring it down to 20 to 22%, and then you can eliminate loopholes and subsidies. But you are setting the conditions for the private sector to grow and for our corporations and businesses to come back to America, to hire Americans and getting them back to work, especially after the abysmal jobs report that we saw. We've got to cap federal government spending to get it in line with the revenue. So that means 18 to 20% of our GDP. And the last thing is we have to push for a balanced budget amendment because no one can run their household or their business like we're running the federal government.
Congressman, listen, do you think that come August 2nd, something will have been worked out, or do you think President Obama is willing to play chicken right up until that self-imposed deadline?
Well, I think that the president is willing to be a fear-mongering type of intimidation-oriented leader. You already saw him talking today about how seniors will not be getting their Social Security checks, and there's a possibility that the military will not be getting paid. He has to understand it's his responsibility, and those are the decisions that he makes. And so if he is willing to make a decision that seniors will not get paid, our military will not get paid, that is on him. But I believe that what he's trying to do is fear-monger and scare people, and those tactics are not going to work because when we look at all of his economic policies from the time he took office in 2009 to now, they have failed. The deficits that he has run up in 3 years are astronomical at $1.42 trillion, $1.29 trillion, and $1.65 trillion. He himself has added close to about $5 trillion of debt since he has been president, and we have seen us continually to raise the debt ceiling just to appease his big spending policies and programs. So I think the thing is we need to stand firm on the message that is coming from the American people that they want to see Washington, D.C. get their spending under control. They want to see Washington, D.C. Tighten up their bootstraps and enable them, the American people, to have a high-quality standard of living. And we have to set the economic, taxation, and regulatory policies so that our small businesses and our corporations and businesses can grow and not have the public sector outpace the private sector.
Congressman, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on the program, sir. I hope that we can do this again in the near future. Thanks so much. Have a great night. Congressman Allen West joining us from Florida this evening.